Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dr. Quack House Calls. I'm Dr. Quack, and today I have a special guest for you. I have a second out of a third generation wrestler. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to bring on Sargent Rouge.
How you doing, sir? It's a pleasure to be here.
Same here. Thank you for coming on.
You're welcome, sir.
Glad you reached out. But, for the viewers at home, tell everybody about yourself.
Well, my dad was in wrestling. He wrestled when Ted Turner had it on Friday and Saturdays in Atlanta. He wrestled as a demon. He refereed. His name was Frank Cochran. He managed different wrestlers. He called himself Colonel Cochran, and among other things.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, definitely. Now, he got to wrestle in the 80s, correct?
Well, my dad wrestled in the late 50s, 60s, and I think the 60s was it.
Okay. Yeah, so that time frame, he was wrestling down in the Georgia area, right? Down in that.
Right,
Okay.
yes, sir.
What did he ever tell you about what was going on back then? And were you around back then for as a child?
No, I heard stories. My dad had a fuse about that short, and he didn't take no guff in the ring. He really didn't. I have two half brothers. Um, One of my brothers was a Golden Gloves boxer, and myself, I'm the only one that stepped in my father's footsteps.
Okay. And you started in the 80s, correct?
Actually, I started when I was in the military. In 1974, I wore a hood, and I was a rookie up till I turned pro in '83, and I wrestled from '83, and I retired in 2016. And I've been in it now for 42 years, but due to my health problems, I'm having to step down as a commissioner of independent wrestling now.
Okay. So yeah, you started back in the 70s and you were in the military. What branch were you in?
I was in the Air Force,
Okay.
and I had to wear a hood because we did it on weekends because they didn't have duty, and I didn't want to get an Article 15.
I understand that. Thank you for your service. Um, yeah, so you started there and you got towards the 80s. And I'm taking you were mostly in the Mid South. Is that where I'm guessing the area?
I run all over the place. The last 25 years has been mainly here in the South.
Okay. I find a lot of people who were in professional wrestling were also in the military at some point. Um, is there like a correlation? Like, do those actually match up for you? Like, are they very similar or very different worlds?
It's a different beast, a different world,
Is it?
but it's still the camaraderie and a brotherhood.
Yeah, you have a lot of that, which was very awesome, to deal with. So you started where? Who was your first opponent?
Oh my goodness. Well, I have Parkinson, and I'm having to think back.
Okay.
And 1999, I was at a place called Gabby's in Cartersville, Georgia. Of
Mhm.
course, AJ Styles was there. Jimmy Wayne Yang was there.
Jimmy Wang, yeah.
And my first opponent was Country Cuz.
And
And
how did that go? Like, were you nervous? Did you?
man, I, he was a big man. He wore overalls. And I went out to the ring. I was being a heel. And he brings his toe sack out. Okay, I'm thinking, okay, he's going to do Jake the Snake Roberts on me. He pulls out this stuffed buzzard. And I go hightailing down the ring because I didn't know what he was going to do. But he let me go over on him that night. And I'll never will forget it. Of course, he's passed away now, but I've wrestled so many people. Um, I can't remember all of them, but my favorite person to wrestle in the whole world was Stanley Somerville. And we wrestled stiff. I mean,
Mhm.
we didn't pull no punches. It was heck back for leather. And, we was the best of friends. But when we got in the ring, it wasn't no friendship.
Definitely. How was it like the locker rooms back in those days for you in the 80s and 90s and all that versus like towards the end of your career in like 2016? What was some of the differences?
Okay, when I first started, if you was a rookie, you was a gopher. Go get me this, go get me that, go get me this, go get me that. You wasn't allowed to dress in the locker room back then. You had a
Really?
different you had a different place. All the rookies had to dress outside from the vet. And when I become a veteran, I got into the locker room. And then my eyes got open real wide to the real world.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure it's like when you was wrestling. I seen guys go over a match for a solid hour, and I look at them and I said, "Just tell me the beginning and the end. That's all I need to know."
Yeah, I mean, 'cause that's a big difference. That's the way I was kind of brought into it. Call it on the fly. You came out, you might have had the opening spot, and you had the finish. And now you see today a lot of like this spot, that spot, and every other spot.
Well, I tell you, I have seen so many finishers in my life. I mean, a DDT used to be a finisher.
Yeah,
A super kick used to be a finisher. Sleeper, they don't do that anymore.
very
Uh,
rarely.
hen security kick to the back of the head, which I'm real familiar with because Stanley knocked me out a couple times with that.
Oh
That used
wow,
to be a finisher. But now guys are jumping up like it's nothing. And there's no K-fan wrestling anymore like it was when I was 10. We used to have a handshake that only we knew about, but with the wrestling movies and everything, everybody knows about it now.
right.
Uh, there's nothing really fake about wrestling. I get upset when people say that. Okay, the moves are choreographed. The body slams, there ain't nothing fake about it. My broke bones ain't nothing nothing fake about it. I've had my nose broke 4 times.
Whew.
I've had more concussions than I can remember. There's nothing fake about that. Uh, if you wrestle a guy that's stiff, there ain't nothing funny about them. Fake about them punches.
Oh, I
But
know.
I've seen guys sell a move that the guys missed them 10 miles, and I always said, if you can't make me feel it, I ain't selling it.
We got a comment here from my buddy Pyro. It's called a finisher for a reason, and these days people don't respect that anymore.
You got that right, Pyro. Cause I used to do DDT, and when I gave it to you, you weren't going to jump up. And like the figure four, at one time there wasn't no play to the figure four. Later on, after guys kept getting their knees blowed out, they figured out how to do it. But I've had people try to shoot on me, and of course you're gonna get a receipt if you don't get what you expect.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people in that time frame, I noticed the biggest problem with wrestlers like that came from that time frame was the kidneys because of running the ropes.
Well, I never had that problem. What I have now is my back is so jacked up, and I have Parkinson's. And the doctor think too many head traumas. And back when I was taking headshots with chairs, there wasn't no putting your hands up. You
Yeah.
just bam. And
Oh
of
yeah.
course, I've had all my teeth knocked out. These ain't real, but I've had all of them knocked out.
Yeah.
I've had, so many injuries that I've done lost count of, but I wouldn't take any time of my time back in wrestling for anything in the world. I made friends all over the world.
It was a great time in the world, man, when you could just go out and visit people. I got a comment from my good friend A-List Alverson here. A slower pace helped with kayfabe.
Uh,
Do you think that?
well, somebody doing 90 miles an hour in the ring, okay, if you're going 90 miles an hour in the ring, you're not going to read the guy's body language. And if you don't know how to read body language, you're not, you might as well just, give it up. A slower pace, yes. Older vets like me, when I got older, I didn't do no high flying. I worked the square circle. I worked the four corners. Um, 2 years before I retired, I done a double axe handle off the top turnbuckle.
Yeah. Kidneys, head injuries, and heart. That was a lot of big ones.
You
I didn't want
got
to
it.
interrupt you. Go ahead.
And now I done a double axe handle off the top rope 1,000,000,000 times. Well,
And
I
that was
was
a
in,
big move for like the 80s. A lot of guys would use that. That was like their
yeah,
big move off the aerial.
I was in Heflin, Alabama, at a National Guard armory. Well, I come down, I did it, and I thought I had twisted my ankle. I have such a high tolerance for pain that I didn't think nothing about, wrong with it. I wrestled on my ankle a whole month before the weather changed. And when it got cold weather, I told my wife, I said, I got to go to the hospital. So they x-rayed and come back in. I said, oh, it ain't broke. I had broke that bone all the way through. So
Man,
you ought to seen me hobbling in a cast. Now that was fun.
man, that is wild there. Now you're how old are you? You're 70, I believe. 70.
Almost, yes, sir.
Right. You've been doing this majority of your life. You've been involved in this business. And what was your greatest memory as far as professional wrestling goes for you?
Um, I guess my fondest memory is we was doing a benefit show up at Durham, North Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
and the promoter hadn't made the card up yet. So we was waiting for the card to get made up. So I was sitting down, looking down my boots, lacing them up. And all of a sudden, these pair of cowboy boots comes in front of me. Son, you understand me and you got a match tonight. Now the voice, I'm like, that ain't who I think it is. I look up and there's American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
Oh wow.
Well, there was no other seat in. I got up and let him sit down out of the respect I have for him. So he said, all right, son, tell me how you want to start. Lock up, elbow collar. All right. Now don't hit me, son. Don't hit me. Yes, sir. Well, about 3 or 4 minutes in the match, he hit me in it with the elbow right here.
Mm-hmm.
Now
That bionic elbow, baby.
I got a hard head. Before I knew it, I done cocked him. Well, needless to say, about 8 minutes in the match, after elbow, I went down. Of course, he went over. We go back to the dressing room. Now I got a big knot right here. I said, Mr. Rhodes, sir, why did you hit me? You didn't tell me not to. And my real good friend, and when I tell you his name, you're going to know who he is, Bull Buchanan.
Oh yeah.
Now, he still does independent shows
Yeah.
down here.
His son's still out there, ain't he?
Yes, sir, he sure is. I'm not going to say, I can't say for obvious reasons.
Okay.
but he's in NXT.
Right.
And his youngest son, he's wrestling independent scene, and he's good.
Yeah. Very good talent out there. I've seen him out in the South down there.
And Chick Donovan's still wrestling. Can you believe that? Action Mike Jackson's still going 90 miles an hour.
Now that's a good question here because you're talking about Chick Donovan and Action Mike Jackson, guys who are legitimately past their prime, still out there professional wrestling. Do you think that's a good thing?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm not cutting down Chick or nothing, but he's blind as a bat.
But he still can go out there and work.
Oh, he can still go.
Right.
But Action Mike Jackson, I'm not kidding you. I got a real good friend that wrestled him. He's like 25 years or 30 years younger than him. He runs circles around this boy. And of course, my friend Scott Hall, he passed away. Cody, down here where I live at in Carrollton, Georgia, they used to come down here, and Cody used to do shows, and Scott used to come down here, and I got to know Scott quite well in the dressing room. And I don't care what anybody says about Scott. He was so nice to me. He was funny in the dressing room, and he told me stories you wouldn't believe.
Definitely.
Especially about the NWO.
Oh yeah, lot of good times there. But I want to ask you. So you went from wrestler to general manager. What was that transition like for you?
Well, I was a commissioner.
Oh, commissioner. Excuse me.
Okay, I had retired completely. I just my heart wasn't in it, and I got a call from my old wrestling brother of mine, who I have known, been in the ring with for over almost 30 years. And he said, "Would you mind being the commissioner?" I said, "Sure, no problem." So I'd done that for over a year, but like my Parkinson's, it's not letting up, and my back is jacked up, so I'm stepping away from it. But I'll still be going to independent shows, and I'll still be supporting independents.
That's awesome. And you got inducted into a Hall of Fame, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir. I've been inducted twice. Hard Time Championship Wrestling in 2016, and Battle Zone Championship Wrestling this year.
Okay. What was that feeling like? Just being inducted? Did you get to give a speech, or did they give you a plaque or a ring? What happened?
I got both.
You got both. Okay.
Yes. The first time, when I got inducted at the Hard Time Championship Wrestling, I said, "Yeah, great, I made it." But when I got informed that I was going to be inducted to the Battle Zone Championship Wrestling Hall of Fame, I cried. My wife cried. She was there with me because it was such a shock to me that they thought enough of me to induct me in the Hall of Fame.
I got you. And you have a son now who's currently wrestling, right?
No, sir. That was my brother you was talking to.
Oh, my apologies.
That's okay. He's the Golden Glove boxer I was telling you about. He was wanting to know about the show. But I want to
That's
tell
awesome.
he chose boxing. But I want to tell you a true story. This is the honest, good truth. I'm not lying. We was down in Whitesburg, Georgia, and me and Stanley had a match. And my wife to be had never seen me have a match a day in her life. Okay, now me and Stanley was going at it. I mean, he was hitting me, I was hitting him, he was hitting me. I mean, for about 15 minutes. So he whipped me in the turnbuckle. I staggered out. He gave me his secure kick right in the back of the neck. I went down, and my wife saw Hammer. She was at ringside. Hammer laying down by the ring. After the match, she chased him out of the building with a hammer.
Oh wow.
Okay. I neglected to tell her the ins and out of wrestling. After that, I told her about the ins and out of wrestling. I saw somebody said they don't do that anymore.
No, not generally. You don't see that.
Hey, Stanley's come down here. Stanley Somerville will give you a insecure kick.
Okay.
And of course, the super kick. Now, when I used to get them, you wasn't gonna bounce up. It rung you chine because he caught you right here, right up under. And lariat, I gave a boy a lariat. He was my trainee. First match he had, pro match. I think I seen you the video of it.
Hammer time.
But I gave him a lariat, and he went to the top turnbuckle. He was going to give a frog splash. Well, of course, he moved, did his finger, and I moved out of the way. Of course, he went back and down on his belly. Well, we had planned I was going to do an old Eddie Guerrero move, which I love Eddie Guerrero to death. I went out of the ring, grabbed a chair, come back through the ring, and my manager had distracted the referee. I hit the mat, threw it, perfect timing, and went down. And, everybody was wanting to kill me. Of course, he was a face and I was a heel. But even when I was wrestling as a heel, people still cheered me. Now, I wasn't the best wrestler in the world, but I always tried to be safe. And that's the thing about it. You have to take care of each other in that ring. Because I always tell younger guys, never forget where you come from. Stay humble. Always be respectful. And don't ever let your ego cash a check your butt can't handle.
Definitely. I want to move on to some today's wrestling here. I kind of want to get your opinions on this because Sting allegedly this week will be announcing his retirement. Did you ever get to work with Sting or?
No, I met him a couple of times. Some guys I did, some guys I didn't. I done house shows, and of course they was never televised. Believe it or not, now today the big show hit my wife up wanting to know how I was doing.
That's a good thing.
And that's a very good thing. Edge, I retired twice and I come back. The last time I couldn't take it anymore. I feel that they're not giving the the rookies the push that they should get pushed.
I understand that. That makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, speaking of which, the Tuesday Night Wars that everybody was all excited over. What did you think about that with NXT and AEW going head to head?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm a big Undertaker fan, so we know what I watch. But that's like WCW going against WWE, WWF at the time. They're like back to back to back. Why?
It doesn't make any sense, does it?
Neither one of them broke a million viewers.
They didn't. It was really bad. I was like, you had all this star power. Nobody really cared.
And I want to give a shout out to a girl that I met. And I gave her a lot of advice, and apparently she took me up on it. Her name is AJ Pereira. And she's a referee. And, she's on TV. And every time I see her, me and my wife said, there's our adopted daughter. And, her and Raggedy Ann, her sister, are phenomenal women. Just great. And AJ was a great female wrestler herself.
I got a question here for you.
Yes, sir.
This is from my friend Eugene. Have you tried Leo levodopa for
I'm on
Parkinson's.
that. I'm on that now.
Is that helping?
It slows my tremors down. If I don't, like when I wake up, if I don't get the dosage in me before it wears off, I get the tremors so bad, and I have them until the medicine gets in me. And but like I said, I'm happy. I got a beautiful wife who loves me. I've had a wonderful career, and if I can give some young rookies advice out there,
Yeah,
if you
go
don't
ahead.
mind,
By all means.
okay, learn as much as you can. Pick the veterans' brains. A veteran of the ring, 20 and 30 years, ask them every possible question you can ask, because my generation is slowly dying off. So now, if you have to take a pad and pencil, piece of pencil paper, don't think you're going to aggravate them. Do it with respect, and they'll be happy to answer any question you got. You know, um, I I was wrestling one boy. This is no lie. Now I was doing a heel gimmick, and I used to have a look that I would give like I was a lunatic,
Mhm.
and I'd always say, "We gonna have fun now, son." I chopped. When I chopped, I knocked him across the ring. He grabbed around under the ring rope and wouldn't let it go. My wife, let go, let go. Oh, you're gonna hurt me. And that was one of the funniest things I think I've seen.
There you go. That is awesome. There, I got a few quick fire questions for you before we wrap this up. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
So, what do you think about Raw going to Monday nights, going off Monday nights? We're talking about it going to a new night.
I don't know. People don't like change too much, but
No,
the wrestling fans are going to follow it regardless of what night they go to. But if they put up something that people want to see, then that's going to go against,
I will never say WWE. I still say WWF. LOL. Wildlife.
okay, believe it or not, Tommy Wildfire Rich, he come down, done a show, and he's one of my wrestling brothers. Well, he gave my wife a T-shirt. Well, of course, I had to buy it, but he signed the picture to my wife, "Love Wildfire," and I'm like, okay, Tommy. But I saw some of your matches. I
My
looked you up,
matches. Okay.
brother. You had it going on.
No, thank you.
You had, I anybody can look me up. Just go to YouTube, punch in Sargent Rouge versus Kid Paradise. And this was in my later years when I was getting ready to retire. I had never wrestled a woman in my life. So I wrestled a lady named Madison Knight. Okay. Now, being old school like I am, I wasn't about to pick her up and body slam her because, I was getting so aggravated with her because I had never known she never had a match before.
Right.
I kept on trying to tell her. I finally got so mad, I took my right foot and kicked her right in the back of the head. I said, "Are you going to listen now?"
Good golly. Whew. Well, I got one more question for you because
Yes, sir.
you've been around for quite a minute here. You might have seen many of these. What's your favorite scary movie?
You really want me to know?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Shall we play a game?
Oh, the Jigsaw.
Oh, yeah. And of course, Freddy Krueger, The Exorcist scared the crap out of me. The Children of the Corn I like. My wife can't stand it because every time we go by a cornfield, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. But really, aliens, anything horror I love. Of course, I'm a Star Trek fan. I
Okay.
saw the first I saw the first Star Trek in black and white,
Oh wow.
and Captain Kirk was not on there. And then Harry Potter and Lords of the Rings. And you know, to sum my life up in a nutshell, I'm happy, got a beautiful wife, and I couldn't ask for anything more.
That's very important to have. I mean, definitely after a long, life there, you still have that, your happiness, you got your wife and everything. That's
And
a
I
great thing.
and I appreciate the flag behind you.
Yeah. Thank you.
You
Definitely.
know, on 9/11, I carry my little old crippled foot down to the recruiter, and I said, "Put me back in, and I can push a pencil." Okay, now I'm 100% service connected. I have a DOD card. I said, I can get on base. You ain't got to pay me. Just let me push a pencil. And a recruiter said, you're past your prime.
Yeah.
And I'm like, excuse me?
I tell you, it's tough. But that's the end of our show here. I want to thank Sergeant Rogue for coming
Thank
on
you
here.
for having me, sir.
Thank you for coming on. This was definitely a great experience. Tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, I will be having on the PPF United Champion Rising Sun. So make sure you tune in there. It'll be a special start time, 11 a.m., and I will see you then.